Hello, teachers. This is the instructional guide for primary 3, term 2, week A. Now, for this week, there are two booklets. The first one is on comparing and ordering fractions. The second book is the same one that we did as an additional booklet for last week, right? I'll talk more about it in a bit. So, for this lesson, objective is for students to be able to compare fractions, right? And later on, they will do ordering in the next week. So this week, I just want to focus on the methods that you use to start off the lesson. Do a quick recap, right? Based on whatever they're shown on page 1 here, 3 out of 4 or 3 out of 5, which is greater. So remind them that, when the numerator is the same, right, you can compare the denominator, right? If the numerator is the same, the smaller the denominator, the larger it is. You might want to use this illustration here, right, to help you um, explain to the students, for example, why when the denominator is smaller, which basically means that there are smaller parts cut out of one whole, okay, makes it bigger than another fraction with more parts being cut out. Okay, so that's the explanation here. So when numerator is the same, okay, you can compare the denominator. The smaller denominator means the fraction is greater. Of course, the more obvious one is quite easy, right? If the denominator is the same, right? For example, 2 out of 4 and 3 out of 4, which is greater, then of course you just look at numerator, right? 3 out of 4 is greater. Okay, so now we need to get to the gist of today's lesson, which is to compare fractions using equivalent fractions. So if you are given 2 out of 3, right, and 5 out of 6, how do you compare? So the key strategy is to make sure that either you convert the numerators so that both numerators are the same, or you convert the denominators so that both the denominators are the same. Then you can make the comparison. So ideally, so you see which the best. Usually we start by looking at the denominator, whether you can make the denominator the same. If you cannot, then you try the numerator. So let's take a look at 2 out of 3 versus 5 out of 6, right? So one has a denominator 3, and the other one is 6. So question is, can you convert 3 to become 6? Yes, you can, right? So you can demonstrate on the board. So if I were to have the same denominator as this fraction here, which is 6, right? How do I do it? So remember they were doing the conversion last week. Okay, so 3 times 2 equals 6. So 2 would be times 2 as well, okay, which is 4. And so 2/3 is equals to 4 out of 6. So 4 out of 6 is smaller, right, than 5 out of 6. Okay, get into guided practice. So some questions for them to do here. Make sure that they use the steps, right, that they've been taught. Okay, for this one is a bit interesting, right? Since ask them whether you need to convert the denominator, right? No need, because numerator is the same. So if numerator is the same, the smaller the denominator, the greater it is, right? This one you need to convert 1 out of 4, right? Make sure they do it properly. Then question 5, equivalent fractions of 3/4 and 5/6. Why? Because if you look at this question, can you convert 4 into 6? You can't. All right. So what you do then is to see whether there is a common multiple of common multiple of 4 and 6. All right. So what they can do is they can do it gradually, right? 3, 4 convert to 6 out of 8. Okay. Make sure they do this step. And then 8 is still different, right? So why not times 3 then? The first one is times 2, right? So if they cannot get a common denominator, then times 3, and they get 9 out of 12. 5 out of 6, right? So to make 5 out of 6 12, 6 times 3. Okay, 6 times 3, what am I saying? 6 times 2, right? And then 5 times 2. Okay, so then you can compare 9 out of 12 and 10 out of 12. Now, important point to note is that when they write answer, they shouldn't do it this way. Sorry, they shouldn't write 10 out of 12 is greater than 9 out of 12, right? Emphasize on that. They need to look at the original fraction that's given. So it's 5 out of 6 is greater than 3 out of 4. Okay. And then I've circled some questions for them to do throughout, right? Get them to do while you observe. 3A. 3b. Okay, some of this here, compare. What else? Quite a lot to do actually. B here, right? On the circle question. Okay, C. Okay, some may find it a bit more challenging, right? Which is why I am sticking to one booklet today. Now, this one is quite interesting. This one is to compare, right, by comparing fractions, right, based on half, the idea of half. So to get them to understand that half is the same as 2 out of 4, 3 out of 6, 4 out of 8, 5 out of 10, 6 out of 12. Right? So the idea is that so that they can make comparison to the half easily. For example, compare half to 5 out of 8. So immediately they know that half is 4 out of 8, right? So just by looking at it, all right, half equals 4 out of 8, they know that half is smaller than 5 out of 8. Right? So complete this set of questions here. Some more here which is smaller, right? Which can test. Okay, get them to try it out. Okay, and I think let me see. I think that should be about it. One more question if you have time here. Okay. For this case, it'll be easier, right? The last question I'm including because you asked them, can you want to find a common denominator, right? Or is it easier to find a common numerator? And in this case, it's easier to find a common numerator, right? So you just make half into 6 out of something, right? So 1 times what? Oh, sorry. It's supposed to be a box. 1 times 6 equals 6. And then 2 times 6 equals to 12. So then they can compare, right? 6 out of 11 and 6 out of 12, which is smaller, right? Numerator the same. So look at the denominator, the greater it is, the smaller it is. And that's it for this book. Next week, after I completed this homework, I'm going to show an example. Sorry, I'm going to show another technique for comparison, which is faster. All right, but I'm not going to do it now because I want to make sure that I understand this concept first, okay, of converting denominators and converting numerators before I introduce that method to them. All right, so stay tuned for next week's topic. Now, for the second booklet, okay, so just like the instruction for last week, okay, what I'd like you all to do is just let them do the subsequent lessons that have not been done yet, which is, sorry, I forgot to open the slides. Right, so this booklet, okay, so I think most group, right, most students, right, did not get to do this. I know some classes, right, have already done some, or maybe a few. They can continue to do this, right, during the lesson, okay, or take the time to do the corrections, right? So they have a choice, but where possible, I'd like them to try out all these questions, right, under your guidance, right? So this is booklet 2. No need to assign homework, right? Just get them to do some of this question, do it in a sequential order. Okay, that's it for this week's topic. Thank you.